I was doing shows, it was literally 50 people. I'm like, damn, I got to get back. Like, when you the artist, it's killing you. Like, damn.
What's poppin', y'all? Lil Durk has recently had an amazing commercial release for his album The Voice. It sold 23,000 copies the first day, around 70,000 copies the second week, and 47,000 the third week. 2020 was just the lead up to this and the greatest year of his entire career. Lil Durk got his first ever Hot 100 charting song, with him as the lead artist in his whole career, with the song Viral Moment from his album Just Cause Y'all Waited 2, and his highest charting song ever, peaking at number 43 with Three-Headed Goat, featuring Lil Baby and Polo G. That was his second platinum song ever. He had 4 more songs chart on the Hot 100 from The Voice in 2020, and we can't forget the biggest moment, being featured on Drake's lead single to his upcoming album, Certified Lover Boy. We don't know if it's on the album, Laugh Now, Cry Later, that peaked at number 2 on the Hot 100. But things weren't always smooth sailing, and Lil Durk had a really rocky road of up and downs, not only in his life prior to making it in music, but while in music as well. Lil Durk was born and raised in Chicago. His father was locked up when he was just a baby in the early 90s for selling crack cocaine. He was in a distribution ring and reportedly had up to $8 million in his possession when they arrested him. That money was seized from him and his associates by the FBI, and in 1994, Durk's father was sentenced to life in prison. He started getting into putting out music seriously in 2011, with the rise of drill music in Chicago and its widespread popularity throughout the internet. But the moment that really changed it all for Lil Durk was his song L's Anthem, released in March of 2012. This was uploaded to D Gain's YouTube channel, the same YouTube channel and videographer that was doing many of the drill music videos back then, and with Chief Keef blowing up, people were recommended these other Chicago rappers, Durk being one of them. This song did enough numbers to get him noticed by one of the record labels that was hungry to sign talent from this burgeoning scene, and within a month, both Durk and Lil Reese were signed to Def Jam Records. It was reported by Chicago blog Fake Shore Drive with a brief interview. First and foremost, Durk, congrats to you. Shout out to Fake Shore Drive and Andrew, man. Much love. Shout out to Def Jam for believing. Shout out to all the artists in Chicago. Stay tuned for the new music because we're coming. Know that. Any idea when we can expect an album or a single on Def Jam? We working on that right now. It's a work in progress, but we're trying to figure that all out now. But we're working. Last time we spoke, you were supposed to turn yourself in to do a short stretch in jail. Is that still happening? Yeah. Def Jam got me an extension of an extra week, which got me out here to LA to sign the deal. I've got to come back to Chicago to do my time though. I go back in Monday for 2 months. Despite that, this is very exciting. Yeah, man. Also, Reese and I are the first acts from Chicago to sign straight to Def Jam. No other imprints. We're straight to Def Jam, no middleman. The first single after he was signed to Def Jam was the song This Ain't What You Want, with its accompanying music video that did incredibly well. It's had over 45 million views as of today and had that same element that Lil Durk originally got on for, and you can see appearances from fellow Chicago rappers like Rondo Number 9. He was building up his fan base and catalog through singles and mixtapes, strongly affiliated with French Montana and Coke Boys between the years of 2013 to 2015. He released Signed to the Streets in 2013 and Signed to the Streets 2 in 2014. But it was getting time for him to release a debut album with Def Jam, and that was released in June of 2015, titled Remember My Name, that would sell about 27,000 first week. This album, and in particular the song featuring Jeremiah, Like Me, was when fans began to get a different side of Lil Durk's music, where he was using a more singing, auto-tune melody style of delivery, instead of the rapping and drill delivery he got popular with. Some other songs where you can hear that style on this album are on the songs Higher and on Tryna featuring Logic, which was such a bizarre feature to see both of these rappers on a song, but they were both on Def Jam. The song with Jeremiah performed insanely well, And if I had to guess, Def Jam probably wanted to double down on this. And I personally didn't like this, but it was working. They put him in that public relationship with Dej Loaf, and they released that song titled My Beyonce that was not drill in the slightest. This song would eventually go gold. It attracted a new demographic to Durk's music, but it left OG Lil Durk fans a bit confused. This wasn't drill. It would show up on his second project released that year, which was a mixtape titled 300 Days, 300 Nights. But in 2016, it was time for Lil Durk's next album, Lil Durk 2 Times. The song My Beyonce was used as the lead single to this album as well, and when his sophomore album was released on July of 2016, the sales would likely be higher, right? I mean, he had a lead single that was performing well. No, the sales were abysmal. His album sold 12,000 units overall first week, and you need to keep in mind, not only did he just sell more than twice that a year ago, this was in 2016, he was just coming off of 2 hits, and it was far easier to sell a lot of units then than it is now. Streaming was not as widespread as it would become in the coming years, and this was around the same time that Lil Durk was referencing in the beginning of this video, when he said he would look around and see it sometimes there were around 50 people at a show of his. Being at this point in a rapper's career is a scary place. You had already done so much to get out the hood and your situation to finally get a deal and become a rapper, but now you had fallen off big time. Was this going to be a permanent thing? Most rappers, once their initial hype dies down and they keep falling off for a year or 2 straight, they'll never get back to that level. And their career is kind of just over. The better days are behind them. But Lil Durk didn't want to let that happen. He was still on Def Jam and wasn't really too fond of his label situation, so he decided to do what rappers usually did during this time period to feed the fans, and that was release mixtapes. The first song he dropped was They Forgot, which was a return to form. It's a Chicago drill song through and through, bringing that same energy that brought him into the game, and this mixtape was named after the song too. He released this in November of 2016, but in 2017 is when Lil Durk was really going to turn his work ethic into overdrive. The end of 2016 is what I would call Lil Durk's lowest moment in his musical career. It was definitely a trough. Nobody was really checking for him except his die-hard fans. He was an afterthought, but things were going to slowly go up from here. In 2017, Lil Durk would release 4 mixtapes. Yes, you heard that, 4 mixtapes. He released Love Songs for the Streets in February, Super Vultures, which was a collaborative mixtape with Lil Reese, who had also fallen off terribly in August, Signed to the Streets 2.5 in October, and Bloodas, which was a collaborative mixtape with T Grizzly in December. 2018 was going to be a new phase for Lil Durk's career. He was finally free from Def Jam and an independent artist. I've been with Def Jam Records for 5 years, and they gave me my first recording contract. So for that, I'm forever grateful, Durk says. But I'm a different artist than I was 5 years ago, and the time is right for a change. At the same time, Def Jam is making changes in their offices and trying a new direction. I didn't want to be a part of another regime change. In an interview with No Jumper back in 2018, he goes deeper into detail about what was going on during his time at Def Jam.
Being signed to Def Jam since 2012, I'm saying, it's a couple of months ago. I wouldn't be able to being creative. Couldn't drop what I wanted to. Had to ask, can I drop? Know what I'm saying? And it was just like, go do whatever. So I kept myself afloat. And now it's like, it's turned, it's over with.
Right. So when you look back at that, do you think that overall the Def Jam, like the decision to rock with Def Jam early on in your career was a bad idea?
No. You know what I'm saying? It just ain't the right situation for me.
Right.
It might fit the next person, but just, you know what I'm saying, it ain't fit me.
Do you feel like that they were trying to turn you into too much of a star? Trying to force you into that like pop star bubble or something?
So that's what I wanted to say. Like, they wanted me to go pop. Then when I had something, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. They like, nah. But it's like I had no say-so, so it was like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was just a bad situation for me.
Yeah, because like the Jeremiah song and stuff, like when I think about it, those are like the big moments that I kind of remember from your career that really made me be like, damn, this dude is fucking dope. Like this, like those songs really do stand out. But then at the same time, I always like wondered, like, is the label kind of pressuring him to make a certain type of record because it seemed like they had sort of a formula with putting R&B singers on your shit and everything?
Yeah, they was behind it. You know what I'm saying? I got plats from it. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm gonna give y'all like all me.
This interview was on a press run Lil Durk was on to promote his first album as an independent artist that was titled Just Cause Y'all Waited. It released on March 30th, 2018, debuting at number 57 on the Billboard 200 albums chart. I was unable to find the exact sales, but they were definitely less than 9,500, which is lower than what he sold with his last album, Lil Durk 2 Times, on Def Jam. However, another label saw potential with these sales coming from an independent Lil Durk, so they reached out, and in a couple of months, Lil Durk was now signed to Alamo Records in partnership with Interscope. They wasted no time getting to work, and that same year in November, Lil Durk dropped another album, Signed to the Streets 3, that debuted at number 17 on the albums chart, selling 26,741 copies first week, with nearly 2,000 of that coming from pure album sales. This was already looking to be a more fruitful partnership than Def Jam, because this album was already basically selling the same numbers Durk did with his first album on there, and he was bouncing back from having fallen off. He wasn't having any singles success, but he was building up a strong core fan base once again, and bringing back old fans with this consistent stream of projects he was putting out, and 2019 was going to be no different. The biggest being that Lil Durk was putting on some rappers on his own OTF label, the first to get pushed and becoming the biggest being King Von. Another big thing to happen for Lil Durk in the beginning of 2019 was that in February, his father, who he refers to as Big Durk, was released from prison. He was serving a life sentence, but he won his appeal and was now a free man and reunited with his son. His second album was getting ready to be released in August of that same year, Love Songs for the Streets 2, and this was his highest debut for an album ever, at number 4 on the Billboard's album charts, selling 42,000 first week. Now that's putting up some really solid numbers. Lil Durk was back in the game, and where many other rappers fell off in 2020 with everything that was going on, and shows having been a big source of income for Lil Durk, his career still only continued to rise up. There was a new partnership with the label too. Instead of Alamo Interscope, it was now Alamo Geffen, and in May of last year, Lil Durk released his album Just Cause Y'all Waited 2, with the single Three-Headed Goat, that would be his highest charting song with him as a lead, and go platinum. But the album sold 57,000 first week and went number 2 on the charts. Lil Durk, 8 years after he had first blown up, was now more popular and mainstream than he had ever been in his entire career. Keep in mind that rappers like Lil Reese and Chief Keef were way bigger than Lil Durk was in the beginning. Lil Reese is now selling 300 units after having his own label issues at Def Jam and getting dropped, if I recall correctly. Chief Keef is nowhere near as hot as Lil Durk, and it's in part because of his own decisions, but regardless, the outcomes are what we're looking at here. Other than G Herbo, who was more of a second generation Chicago drill rapper, and in his own right sold 60,000 first week with his album PTSD, I don't believe G Herbo has ever had a single of his hit the Hot 100. Nobody who came up when Durk did is even close to the level he's at right now, and it's largely thanks to Lil Durk's focus and work ethic, which was rewarded when Drake allowed him to feature on his song and music video for Laugh Now, Cry Later. I personally don't even think Lil Durk has hit his second peak yet. Unfortunately, his songs and albums chart at the top at number 2 and he hasn't gotten to number 1 yet, so I'm sure he's gunning for that. But he's on an upwards trajectory that's already higher than his previous peak ever was. And with the level of discipline and strong mental he's had up until this point, all he has to do is not get lazy and screw it all up. How far do you think Lil Durk can go? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.